Hi guys, this is Shalonda. Welcome to my channel. And I am a 13-year survivor of domestic violence. And I change the lives of women one home at a time through interior design. Starting over is hard enough. And sometimes you really want to know while you are trying to transition, how do you start over? What can you do so that you can leave the environment that you're in safe and try to figure things out at the same time. So you've come to the right channel. I have created a toolkit just for you so that you can get the steps that you need to make sure that you transition from that environment that you're in that's full of trauma and abuse into a loving sanctuary. And that first step sometimes begins with calling the domestic violence hotline. I have steps that I have outlined here that will give you the confidence in your transition. So I've created a leaving safely safety plan. And it takes a lot of courage to do what you are about to do. And I want you to know that I am here to help you in that process. Everything in the social media world, news world, escapes domestic violence in a sense, because we're talking about the changes in the government, the new administration, talking about a lot of things, but sometimes domestic violence, well, a lot of times, domestic violence gets left out of the equation. There are women who literally woke up this morning and was thankful that they survived another night. And no one is really talking about this. But you know what? I have decided to be a voice to the voiceless. I want survivors. You're already a survivor, even though you are in that environment. I want to teach survivors. I want to show survivors that they too can begin again with little to nothing. Because a lot of women stay because they don't have a car, because their finances aren't in order, or because they just don't trust the process. And I get it. I know exactly what that feels like. So that's why I created this channel, so that you can have hope in your future. Because I know that your hope every day is diminished because you don't know where to start. You don't know who to talk to. You don't know where to go. Sometimes you've exhausted all your means as far as your friends or family and things like that. And you feel trapped. That's the bottom line. You feel trapped and you don't know how to get free from the abuse, because you are constantly going in your mind like, how do I get this going? How do I get started? And honestly, the first step is calling the domestic violence hotline. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is a great resource so that you can talk to someone who's a complete stranger, someone you haven't told your story to, so that they can go ahead and give you that information that you need to handle the situation for the next steps. And so that hotline is 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE. And the last four numbers are 7233. And when you speak to domestic violence hotline, make sure you have something to write with, or something in your phone or somewhere where you can just get a few tips. If you call the hotline more than once the first time, hey, you might not want to write anything down. One thing you don't want to have is a paper trail. And I understand it. So that's why we're having this conversation today, because you just want someone to understand where you are coming from. And those people are trained professionals to listen to your story. So do not feel like you cannot share your story. This is a judgment-free zone. This is a place where you can go and let them know that you are hurting, that you are being harmed, and that you need help. Okay? Hurting, harmed, and you need help. So those are the three keys. You're hurting, you're being harmed, and you need help. So trust the process. So that's step number one. Step number two is find your people. Make sure you have those trusted resources in the people that you know that can be there when you do decide to leave. And this is going to be all in the toolkit that I've created for you. You need to have someone that you can say, hey, this is the next step I'm making, and I need you to be on call when that time comes. Those are your people. Those are the people who are going to listen to you. If it's one person, fine. Two, great. Three would even be the best, so that you can have those outlets. Because if it's 1 in the morning, 12 noon, or whatever time frame, they are there for you. And to send texts between you, each other, just phone calls, meet up, however, if you're able to leave the house, to meet up with them, to talk about the things that you are going to do next. They need to know your next steps. And sometimes you have to use code words. Number 3, call the local shelter. It is not the most exciting place to be when you transition from abuse into a shelter. But guess what? That means your life has been saved. That means you're no longer going to wake up being abused, being tormented mentally, because you are now in an environment where you're safe. But now this is the regrouping process. This is where you are trying to find assistance and help and be with others who are being counseled and helped in the process. Women's shelters have a wealth of knowledge on how the restarting begins. They will give you step-by-step tools to help, but you've got to reach out, because sometimes the shelters in your local area may only have 1 bed available, and sometimes that 1 bed is meant for a domestic violence call, so that when the police have to go and figure out what's going on in that situation, and the woman has to get out of there because her life is being threatened, sometimes they keep 1 bed open at least. And of course, if she has children, her children have to come along with her most of the time, that they have 1 bed available, or at least maybe 2 beds if she's got 1 child or 2 child, but the shelters figure all of that out. You've got to start asking questions. Now is the time to start asking questions about the next steps. So find out where your local shelters are. Speak to the manager or the person who's over the shelter, and just get a few key tips on the process. How do you go about it if you are deciding to leave because your life is in danger? Number 4, begin to start stashing away money. Put something aside. Sis, if it's only $5, that's $5 more than you thought you would have had if you hadn't put away $5. It's very key to begin to train yourself to think about the future, because right now all you're thinking about is just, hey, how do I get through the day? And I know that it's a lot, but if you can start using tools to, like, if you go to the grocery store, you use your debit card, you can put, if you can get $10 out, put that away some kind of way, because even if you decide not to go to a women's shelter for the first night or the first week or 2 weeks, at least you'll have somewhere to stay that's safe. And sometimes you're not able to. Sometimes people don't have cars to flee. I get that, but that's the next step. That's the process that we're going to talk through as we get through these days, these weeks, and these months. The steps that you need to take. So I am here as your Survivor Sis, your coach, your Survivor Sister coach, to help you get through these steps. All right, so number 5, get your documents ready. You want to make sure that you have your government ID, your medical cards, your social security cards. What else is on my list? Health cards, immigration papers, bank statements and accounts, marriage certificates. You want to make sure that you have these documents saved or in a safe place, or to where if you do decide that they're in some kind of bag or something, to where you can make sure that these things that you need for identification purposes will be available and on hand with you, especially you leaving and going over to a women's shelter. These are the things that I wish I would have known when I left my abuser and literally just didn't have any clue on what to do. An exit plan is so necessary, especially in today's society. The internet provides a wealth of, you can't trust the internet, period. But there are some people that come online that really talk about true things, and they're not there to scam you. They're not there to deceive you. And that's who I am. Honey, I'm not trying to scam you or deceive you. you need an exit plan. You need to make sure that your life is secured on the back end, because your latter house will be greater than the former house. And that leads me into the scripture on how to stay in faith, walk in faith, because this is a faith walk. There are so many things that you feel are against you, but there's so much on the other side of faith that can show you that these things are leading you into a beautiful life, for your story to be beautifully rewritten. So, the glory of the latter house shall be greater than of the former, saith the Lord of hosts. And in this place will I give peace, saith the Lord of hosts. So I just want to reiterate, sis, that I am your survivor sister. I am here for you to ask questions. Some of the times you don't see this type of talk on the internet because it is something to where it seems as if it's shameful, it's embarrassing. I've been there. I'm a 13-year survivor. I know what it's like to not want to tell anyone. I know what it's like to feel shameful, to not have money in the bank, to not have a vehicle to drive, to try to figure out the next steps. That's what we need to start talking about, the next steps in the process. Okay? So I will have that toolkit available to you. Leave some comments down in the comment section. I'm brand new to this kind of YouTube thing, but it's a start. I had to at least start. Sometimes the reason why we don't accomplish anything is because we don't start. That's why I'm trying to get this over to my survivor sisters, because you are already a survivor. If you are walking and breathing, even though you may be still in that environment, you are already a survivor. Don't ever let anyone tell you that. And don't ever let anyone judge you because of what you are about to do. It is not your fault. You need to be told the right thing. You can begin again. And it takes community. You cannot be isolated anymore. You have to stop being isolated. It is time to start gathering. We've got to become the community of women who are going to support each other, give a hand up, and push. We're pushing each other toward the finish line. And I am the person who is going to push you to the finish line to let you know that you are not alone. Okay? All right, Survivor Sis, until the next video, make this day the best day that you possibly can. Do not be hard on yourself. Stay positive, because guess what? You found me. And girl, we got this. We got this together. We're going to form community and we're going to get through this together. All right, sis? All righty then. Have a wonderful weekend and I'll be back soon. Take care. Bye.